I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. These pictures, released in the last 24 hours, are now viral. They show the Prime Minister participating in Ganesh Puja at the residence of Justice Dhananjay Chandrachud at his home. And the video has since gone viral. There are two perspectives about these pictures. One that says social interaction is perfectly normal. But as the opposition points fingers, the BJP has released pictures from the past. These pictures appear to show then Chief Justice Balakrishnan attending an iftar party hosted by the Prime Minister of that time, Dr. Manmohan Singh. Are the two analogies comparable? What do we think when we look at these pictures? And let's also remember that as we debate whether this is appropriate, today is a day when Arvind Kejriwal has just got bail from the Supreme Court in a divided judgment, with one of the judges being quite critical of the CBI. So is the meeting between the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice a storm in a teacup, or does it raise serious ethical questions? Joining me on this face-off this evening is Hitesh Jain, who's a senior lawyer as well as a BJP leader. And also joining me is Sanjoy Ghosh, senior advocate. Welcome both of you to the program. Hitesh, let me start by asking you, as a BJP leader, obviously we know the party's official position. They've said that they believe that this is a kind of trivialization. BJP has released old videos, old pictures where they show then Chief Justice Balakrishnan attending an iftar party hosted by the Prime Minister. The opposition has argued that a public event and the publicization of a private event are two different things. How do you respond, Hitesh?
Barkha, I don't see a problem in Justice Balakrishna attending the iftar party at the residence of then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Neither I do see a problem now. Let me just give you in 60 seconds a simple anecdote. When I joined the profession, I was given a book called Roses in December by Justice Chagla. And he had narrated a story of our first Indian barrister, Justice Tayyabji, who became the judge later on. And the beauty of the fact was, when he was the judge, he had two sons. And both the sons used to appear in front of him. One son for the plaintiff and one son for the defendant. And then there was a malicious gossip that in the house, all three of them used to have the dinner together, and they used to fix the verdict and all. So when the malicious gossip started, Justice Jenkins, who was then the Chief Justice, he's tried to send a message to Tayyabji that, Justice Tayyabji, is it appropriate? Like, you guys are staying in the same house, they are your sons, they are appearing and all. What was the reply of Justice Tayyabji? He says, go and tell the Chief Justice to mind his business, and the matter rested there. Basically, I'm sharing this with a purpose because this story demonstrates the strength of judges' human fabric. Similarly, now, merely a judge attending organizing a Ganesh Puja at his home. He comes from Maharashtra. He's been celebrating. He purchases the murti also from the local Maharashtrians and all. He invites different people. This is a social engagement which is happening. And I think we are trying to read too much into this. Such engagements are healthy. It should be common. It should happen more frequently. I don't think such engagements will determine the verdicts of the judiciary. Today itself, you saw the verdict that have come, or the judgments that are coming in, right from electoral bond to all the verdicts, what we have seen in the last 6 months. So I don't think such attending any Ganesh Chaturthi or Puja raises any eyebrow, or we should look into all this kind of stories. I think we are trying to read too much into the whole episode.
So let's pick up your last point first and take that to Sanjoy Ghosh. Sanjoy, for all those, including, for example, Shiv Sena leader Sanjay Raut, who questioned whether the Supreme Court could still be fair in the Sena versus Sena matter, today came a judgment that is certainly adverse for the government and favorable for the opposition, and that is bail to Arvind Kejriwal. And it comes literally hours after this entire debate over the video that has gone viral of the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice doing puja together at the residence of the Chief Justice. Some might say that this in itself is proof that people were worrying for nothing, and are we going to question the independence of the judiciary every time there's a verdict that some people don't agree with, and celebrate it every time there's a verdict we agree with? How do you respond, Sanjoy?
See, first of all, I want to say that Justice Chandrachud, the person, is one of the most scholastic and brilliant minds to have, donned the office of the Chief Justice in recent times. In fact, many of you have seen his court proceedings. I think you'd rarely find a person who's so polite to the extreme extent where people take advantage in the court. And you've seen several of those footage where he's very polite to lawyers, especially encouraging junior counsels. In fact, Justice Chandrachud, even in court, has taken several initiatives like setting up the Miti Cafe for manned by specially able people. So please understand that this is not about Justice Chandrachud, the person. And why I say so is Justice Chandrachud is, very many of your non-lawyer audience may not know, is the first Chief Justice to have sang Christmas carols in the Supreme Court. And it was welcomed by everyone. Now, that's the problem comes in the manner in which this video has made its way to the public domain. And let me explain a little bit on that. My learned friend from the BJP may talk about Tayyabji and those days, but those days are gone. In those days, when Pandit Nehru wanted to interfere with the judiciary and not have Patanjali Shastri and thereafter Mahajan succeed after the Chief Justice died, and he wanted to supersede, the entire Supreme Court told Nehru in one voice, justices like Vivian Bose, that we will resign. We all will resign if you interfere. So those days are gone. So it's not, it's no point in talking about Bite hue wo din. Now coming to this. Now in 1997, you had the Chief Justices of the Supreme Court and its full court adopted what is called the Restatement of Values of Judicial Life. And may I just read just two of these things, and your viewers will find it very interesting. It set out certain codes for judges. Obviously, the Supreme Court full court is laying it for itself, but it is a beacon of light for all judges all over the country at various levels.
Okay.
The very first commandment is this: justice must not only merely be done, but also be seen to be done. The behavior and conduct of the members of the higher judiciary must reaffirm the people's faith in the impartiality of the judiciary. Accordingly, any act of a judge of the Supreme Court or High Court, whether in official or personal capacity, which erodes the credibility and the perception, has to be avoided. And one last, from the same thing, clause number 6 of this Restatement of Judicial Values. A judge should practice a degree of aloofness consistent with the dignity of his office. Now, this is the point I was making. You sing carols in the Supreme Court, you do iftar in the Supreme Court, you do Ganesh Puja in the Supreme Court, involve everyone. Our idea of secularism is not that religion is a bad thing. I agree with Hitesh. In fact, the Rig Veda says, let noble thoughts come from all directions. But when it comes to private, this is the first time we lawyers are actually seeing any kind of religious function inside the private domains or the residence.
So hang on. Is the problem that this is a religious function, or is it a problem that the Prime Minister went to the Chief Justice's residence, which was then publicized?
In fact, it is a coupling of both, because not only is it a private tete-a-tete between the head of the executive, who's also the chief litigant before the Supreme Court, because as you know, more than 60-70% of all cases in the Supreme Court are of the central government. And who is the central government headed by? The Prime Minister. It's like a litigant having a dinner with the judge before the date of the case. As I said, please understand, the nuance is very important. No one is saying the Honorable Prime Minister has gone there to influence the Honorable Chief Justice of India. And no one is saying the Honorable Chief Justice of India is not strong enough not to be influenced by a poor old man coming and doing some aarti, wearing a Maharashtrian cap for effect. The point is, justice must be seen to be done is the principle. We talk about Ram Rajya, and we talk about Ram Rajya, and one of the most controversial decisions of Uttar Ramayana is where Ram sends Sita Ma out of the palace because one dhobi said, like, look here, this, that. Now, what was the point? The point was that the king must be even beyond suspicion. So that is actually Ram Rajya.
Let me bring in Hitesh with just one question. I'm sure he'll respond to the other points you've made. Kapil Sibal, who is the president of the Supreme Court Bar Association, but is also an opposition member of parliament. In his comments, he once again said that he believed that the Chief Justice is high integrity. But he objected to the publicization. He said, why was there a video? Did the Chief Justice know that this video was going to be released into the public domain? And why was the Prime Minister interested in a private event? So I'm a little confused. Sanjoy seems to be objecting on two grounds. One, the publicization of the private event, and two, that it was a religious function. Sanjoy, I might just say yes or no if I've summarized you correctly, because I want Hitesh to respond.
No, I don't mind a religious function being attended by them. It cannot be in the public domain and holding out that this is something meant for public consumption.
Let Hitesh come in now. Hitesh, go ahead.
Barkha, it's a classic case of six blind men and the elephant. They don't know, what is the problem? I mean, people are speaking about this in different tenor. See, everybody knows first of all, that the integrity of the Chief Justice, now everybody is waxing eloquent about that. So I think that story is done. So therefore, one should not read into all this suspicion about the proof and all, because if your integrity is there, then it does not get undermined, or the lines do not get blurred by someone attending the function. That is the first point. Second thing, I'm personally of the view, and this that engagement is a vital aspect of a vibrant democracy, and there must be an engagement between the executive and the leadership. Now, let me give you an example. Now, there are so many conferences that are held in the Vigyan Bhavan and all. Suppose the Chief Justice comes early. There is you are aware that whenever there is a conference, it's not like everybody will come directly in the stage or in the public eye. There is a backstage. People will meet. So people will then start saying, oh, they are in the backstage. Oh, they are sitting in the corner and deciding, why should they discuss? Like, if that is something they are going to be on the platform, they are going to express their views, they can express the views. So, where does one draws the line and try to leave? According to me, I think this is just a selective outrage. It is like, we have certain fault lines, unfortunately. Let's admit the fact. Everybody is polarized. We have taken the sides. Today, you do not expect me that suppose if, we are so polarized that if a particular leader is going to do and he reacts in a certain manner, I will comment it that way. I'm not going to look at it objectively. So we are basically, I thought that as a legal professional, forget my political hat, but as a legal the matters or argue the cases in the court, you come outside, you put the arm around your opponent, you fight the man. You fight the subject, not the opponent or not the clients. Yeah. You basically look at things objectively. So basically, because of the fault lines and the manner in which we are polarized, we try, it's much ado about nothing. This is a selective outrage. And this is not the first time that is happening. I will give you one example. When Justice Chandrachud delivered the judgment in the Ram Mandir case, or he delivered the judgment in Justice Loya, democracy was in a serious problem. When Justice Chandrachud delivers the judgment in the electoral bond, they hail that, he's a savior of the democracy. So I can understand if this would have been a one-off situation and a criticism coming. But in the last 5 years, since he has been in the judge, I'm sure he's also aware that whenever he delivers a judgment, either side people will criticize him. Depending upon which side the verdict is, people start criticizing. And nowadays, unfortunately, I can understand the politicians, they are entitled. They are entitled to look at the things politically, criticize. But we as a lawyers should look at the law, should look at the objectivity, should look at all the circumstances and then make a comment. So I think we have lost the objectivity. I don't think Sanjay's comment or Kapil Sibal's comment, unfortunately, are very objective. I disagree with them. I respectfully disagree with them. But I think if we can look at it fairly, then I don't think there should be, this is a selective outrage.
So Sanjoy, I find this hypothesis an interesting one, that let's imagine the same encounter takes place between the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice in a public setting, right? But as Hitesh points out, and I think that's correct, let's say they were speaking at the same conference, which they were recently. Mr. Simple was also on the same stage. Mr. Simple, Chief Justice, Prime Minister were all on the same stage. Let's say they meet backstage. There's a green room. Chai ho rahi hai. They go to a side. They walk to a side. They talk together. The cameras don't catch it, right? If this is about, I don't know, the hint of too much closeness, that can happen off camera. In fact, it's better that it's on camera and we know this meeting, right? Would you have felt it more appropriate had this meeting happened and we didn't even get to know about it? It's an interesting thing to think about. Sanjay?
Well, now we live in the age of camera and age of transparency. Even court proceedings are live streamed. But that having been said, you're absolutely right. There have been much more politicking or palace intrigue in over the ages, right from Nehru's time to Indira's time and till now. It's not that the first time that the head of the court and the head of the executive are talking or conversing. In fact, there has to be a constant discourse and dialogue between the head of the executive and the head of the judiciary for the sake of both the institutions. That having been said, I find this whataboutery astounding. What about a chance encounter just before a conference in Vigyan Bhavan? Is this Vigyan Bhavan? Is this a chance encounter? In the puja room of, I don't know what kind of Hindus my learned friend is. Hitesh. As a very, very strong practicing Hindu, I consider my puja room inviolable. My puja room is the most sacred and most protected space in my house. I won't have four cameramen standing over there in my puja room. I'm sorry. So, what do you want me to respond to this kind of whataboutery?
But I have okay. Hitesh, brief interjection, and then I have yes, I have a question as well.
One has to understand.
Yeah.
I'll give you an interesting perspective. Why Ganesh festival was started? The beauty of the festival, it was a Sarvajanik festival. The meaning
Lokmanya Tilak started it by inspired by the Sarvajanik Puja
together, celebrate together. There was no drawing of line between executive, judiciary, nothing. If you come to Bombay and you look at the celebration of Ganesh Utsav at people's house also, there are cameras. Channels are carrying out at the actor's house. Pujas are there. It is covered widely on the social media. At the industrialist house also, if you will go, they are also covered. It's all over on the social media. The celebrations in Bombay, Delhi, you see Durga Puja. So it's not like you may have a puja room. But if you look at the culture of the tradition of the Maharashtra, since this festival comes, Ganesh Utsav is not, the puja is not done in a closed door affair. It is a Sarvajanik affair. Everybody participates. You saw there were other pandits, there were other clerks and other things. There were several other who were there. It is not just two people in the camera. And you don't do a puja in a secretly, like it is not some secret chambers where you are going and performing. This is a Sarvajanik festival meant to be celebrated, and the law or the festival does not discriminate whether you are a prime minister or a chief justice. At that day, when he visits the house of a chief justice, he is like any normal individual, in a Sarvajanik capacity who has gone to...
I have a question for you, and then Sanjoy, and then we'll take last comments. The Kapil Sibal, again, you can cast him as an opposition leader who's out to criticize this moment, but I'll still raise the point he's raised. He said maybe the Chief Justice didn't even know this was being filmed. Who put this in the public domain? Do you think those are relevant questions? And what is your response to them, Hitesh?
I don't think that is the typical Kapil's way. He knows he cannot criticize the Chief Justice. He wants to try and find, he's speaking in all the wise. No, this is, the integrity is good. But, people will ask the question. That is like here, listen, Kapil Sibal has to take a stand. Unfortunately, when you cannot take a stand, then you pass such kind of comments. Suppose a camera has gone. Has somebody stopped? If somebody felt uncomfortable, the cameraman would not have been allowed inside to capture and all. So all these conspiracy theories, Kapil is very capable in spreading all this conspiracy theory because he cannot take a stand, and we should leave the matter should rest over there.
Okay, Sanjoy, my question to you is again, forget whataboutery. I am saying, again, trying to understand, is the problem that they met in the manner that they did, or is the problem that their meeting was publicized and put in the public domain? Which one is it?
Well, Barkha, as I said, and I'm not running away from your question, there is no problem. Now, he talked about the Sarvajanik Puja. In fact, if a student of history will know that this was started by Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, one of our great sons of India. And guess where he was inspired by? He was inspired by the Sarvajanik Puja of West Bengal, which started called the Badowadi Puja in Calcutta, Durga Puja. That inspired him to start the Ganpati Utsav. Sarvajanik Puja is done in public. This is not a public function. And therefore the problem is but I agree with him so far as partially on what Hitesh is saying about Sibal. Sibal is the president of the Supreme Court Bar Association. He has to keep all sides happy. The point is that if this was done, certain questions come. That was this done without the Chief Justice's knowledge? If so, or was the filming done? He had invited. He did not know he would land up with photographers. or that he landed up with photographers, but he did not know if it would be made public in the public domain. So all these are issues which unfortunately, only the Chief Justice of India can and should clarify, and the Prime Minister of India can and should clarify. So, Kapil Sibal can't say anything on this issue. But again, to answer your point, the point, please understand, please don't minimize this concept of justice should not only be done, but be seen to be done. It is very important. We are not talking about some actor going and inaugurating some puja in someone's house. We are talking about the head or the karta of the judicial family. All judges from the magistrate onwards to High Court to Supreme Court are looking to him for guidance, to him for inspiration. And therefore, as I say, the wife of Caesar has to be above suspicion. You cannot then have one person, namely the Prime Minister, the executive, coming to your house, doing a religious function, and more importantly, then also making it public in the public domain. My question is, and the answer will be, and your answer will be in the answer to this question. What was the need to make this a public exhibition? You get the answer and you'll have the answer whether this was a right thing or not a right thing.
Okay. Well, as you said, we're all speculating. The only two people who know the answer to this are the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice. But I will give Hitesh a last word on this. Just today, in the context of the Kejriwal bail case, one of the Supreme Court judges, Justice Bhuyan, spoke about perceptions and the importance of perceptions. And that is what Sanjoy seems to be stressing, that, we all agree that Justice Chandrachud is a fine man, a fine person. But in this moment, why even create a shadow of suspicion when you're heading the judiciary? I think that's the question. Your last comment on that, Hitesh.
I mean, Barkha, let's be clear that engaging in a cultural or a religious functions, it does not dilute the professional ethics or the independence of our institution. The judiciary will remain independent so long as it upholds the Constitution and the law. And the independence is never compromised by social interactions. So I think, there are, you're aware that I was a part of the several lawyers who had addressed the letter to the Chief Justice of India in the month of March, when we had pointed out that nowadays there is a partisan lobby who wants judiciary to toe the line. And I think there are a lot of fault lines. The legal community needs to be a little relaxed and take a chill, and not make really make a fuss about a simple celebration of Ganesh Utsav. I think it was very clear that the lawyers who want to oppose also, they are themselves confused as to what they should criticize and how they should criticize. People are just trying to find out an empty excuse. This story will also die down. I think the judges speak through that judgments, and I think you have seen in last 3 years the judiciary has been most vibrant, and the judgments go left, the judgment go right, or the judgment will go in the center. It's very difficult to make any sense. So we should leave the independence of the judiciary over there to those judgments.
Oh, we'll leave it there, because one thing that has been pointed out in this conversation is that all of us are speculating. There are so many questions that have been raised to which only two men have the answers, and somehow I doubt that they will choose to address this debate that is currently raging. Thank you so much, Hitesh Jain and Sanjoy Ghosh, for joining us, and to our audience as ever. Thank you, and see you soon.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching.